And hello once again, my name is Lupus, and today I'm just going to be talking about Turnitin and plagiarism for those who kind of struggle with what these things are, especially when you're new to academia. And in this case, it will be specifically, academic plagiarism, not plagiarism in general, although I will discuss it briefly in general for those who, who need to understand it. Now, this video is mostly aimed at those who are starting out at university, haven't really come into contact with this kind of stuff before, this kind of really, really heavy plagiarism stuff where it's all very serious and you have to do research and all that kind of stuff. Now, I've got a bunch of videos that can go into many of those other areas. This one, just going to be talking about plagiarism. Let's first just say, in basic terms, plagiarism is the using of the work of another person and then passing it off as your own. Now, when it comes to, say, other media, not academia, plagiarism can be, copying someone's music and then passing it off as your own and pretending that it's yours, right? It's a kind of theft, but it's an intellectual theft. So you're stealing ideas rather than physical things and then pretending that they're yours. Now, this is obviously different to, say, for instance, let's say in music, something like sampling something where you acknowledge where the original comes from and you're just using it, or say covers in music, is where you're taking somebody else's, song and then you're recording it in your own way, but you're not passing it off as your own, you're passing the cover off as yours, but the song itself, you still acknowledge the other person. So you get a similar kind of thing when it comes to actual plagiarism in academia. Now, in terms of academia, you need to be using a lot of references. You need to be explaining where you got concepts from. You can't just write things. You need to actually say where those things came from. That's a very, very important thing when it comes to academia. They want to, because no one's ideas come from nowhere. They don't come from your own head. I've also actually seen this in university papers, like assignments and stuff, where people will write in the reference list, they will write something like where are their references? It'll just say the internet or my own head. And that's not true. The ideas did not just come from your own head. You didn't come up with an idea out of nowhere. You might have read something and then had your own interpretations of that thing. Now that is your own head working, but where did you get the original idea? And that is what plagiarism is, where you basically pass something off and pretend that it is yours. So in academic writing, you need to do referencing, right? Now every different universities, different departments, blah, 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 all have their own referencing styles that they will mandate you use. So there are different types. So, for instance, I'm very, very used to the Harvard referencing style, where in the text you need to say where you got the information from. So you'll say, you quote something. Now, quoting doesn't just mean direct quoting. So obviously direct quoting is when you put it in quotation marks and you say it. That whenever you do that, you definitely have to say where it comes from. You have to say, blah, 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 in quotes, and then in brackets you would say something, Johnson, 2017, colon, 68 to 74, close brackets. Now you see there, what I was doing is I'm giving the quote, I'm giving the name of the person who wrote it, I'm giving the year, and then I'm giving the page number. That's what those things are. I have done videos going over like academic writing and stuff, so if you need to understand more about that, go check out that video instead. It's on this same YouTube channel. You can just look up academic writing, and you will find it. So, that is in-text referencing, and then you get the reference list at the end, or the bibliography, or whatever it's called. It can differ depending on where you are. But that is where you then give the full thing. So that's where you'll say, in terms of the Harvard referencing style, you'll basically say the name, the date, the title of the work, if it's a book or if it's an article, whatever, and then usually things like the publisher and the city of publication, or the URL if it is an internet source, something like that. It'll always be along those lines. That is correct referencing. If you do that, you are much less likely to be accused of plagiarism. So, that is where you're saying, this is where I got the information from, and then after that, you would give your own input. Now, the thing is, what a lot of students do is that they will just copy and paste from another place and pretend that they wrote it, right? They'll pretend that they've done that, which is plagiarism. Now, at like first year, second year, whatever, you'll just get bad marks usually. You might get reprimanded for it, but you're not going to get expelled. At the higher levels, you could be expelled. Actually, at the very, very highest levels, you could have qualifications taken away from you. Like, you'll get kicked out of academia. If you're doing a master's degree and you copy, like, the university will kick you out if you plagiarize. So, do not get into the habit of plagiarizing. You need to find the information, reference the information, and then explain in your own words how you have interpreted that information. That is the correct way to basically do academic writing. So, as I said here in the second little bit here, in academia, this means not using correct referencing or simply copying, and this includes using the thesaurus function in a word processor to change a few words. Now, that's sort of saying what plagiarism is, right? If you don't use correct referencing, that is a form of plagiarism, because you're not saying where you got the information from. You need to say where the information is from. Or, of course, you could be simply copying, which is blatant plagiarism. Like, not doing correct referencing could just mean you're not sure how to do referencing. A university won't necessarily massively penalize you if you don't reference correctly, especially if you're a first year. They'll say, listen, you need to learn how to do correct referencing. You're not going to get as high a mark for this assignment because you didn't reference, but we're not going to assume that you copied just because you didn't put referencing. However, if you were to just go to an online source, say you have to write an article about like a philosophical theory, like let's say the stuff that I usually talk about is literary theory stuff, so let's say something like new criticism. If you just Googled new criticism, copied the stuff on whatever article you found, and then pasted it into a Word document, that's plagiarism. That is blatant plagiarism. That is just copying. And now the reason this is also so important is because it means you didn't do the work. As I said, yeah, plagiarizing work means that you did not do the work. If you're plagiarizing, you do not deserve to get a degree. Because if you plagiarized, it means that you didn't even study, you just copy and pasted from somewhere else. That is why plagiarism is so important. That's why plagiarism is such a serious thing. Because it means you do not deserve to get, the qualification that you are getting. It means you have copied, you have stolen. That is why it's bad. And I said here also, it includes the thesaurus function in a word processor. Do not copy and paste something and then right-click on a bunch of words and change them to a different word using the synonym function. Also, because I've seen students do this, where students will change keywords, which are words that need to stay the same, like key terms. Let's say something like, I just said new criticism. New criticism cares a lot about, let's say, some of the fallacies, like the affective fallacy. If you were to write something, and then you were like, oh, I can't use these words, so you right-click on affective, and it becomes emotional, and then you call it the emotional fallacy. That is now incorrect, because you were trying to avoid showing that you'd stolen by doing something kind of dumb. So don't do that. Instead, what you do is you read the information, right? You read the primary information, like in terms of like what I do here, which is the Unisa stuff. You read your study guide. You will then take something small from it, and then you'll explain it in your own words. Because we want to see that you understand. That's the thing. You need to show that you actually understand the work. You can't just be like, oh, I've copy and pasted it, so strictly speaking, I've finished the assignment. No, you haven't. You haven't done the assignment. All you've shown is that you know how to go onto Google, type in a thing, and then copy and paste it. That is all that has been shown, and a child can do that. It's something that, a grade 1 can do. It's not something that a university student should be doing. So now that also doesn't mean you can't, like, say, just take sources. You can take sources, but so long as you then use them correctly. You need to reference them correctly. So once again, if you need help with what that is, my academic writing video will go over that and a bunch of other things about academic writing. Last thing I want to talk about here is Turnitin. Turnitin is a plagiarism software, or a plagiarism detection software. Now, Turnitin is not the only type. There are various plagiarism detection softwares that exist. At Unisa, Turnitin is used. I'm not really familiar with other ones, but they all basically work in the same sort of way. What they do is they crawl the internet and academic sources, and then they assign you a score based on how much you've plagiarized. Now, it's not a perfect system, because, for instance, I had to use Turnitin when I did my master's dissertation, and that's because you have to show that the work is your own. Now, a lot of the time, you don't really get your full report. If you're like undergraduate, you're just getting the percentage, and the percentage has to be below a certain amount. The more you plagiarize, the higher the percentage will be. And if it's over a certain threshold, you can fail. If, say for instance, if it's 100%. So this is actually a time in which, at university, you usually want to get high percentages. In this case, you want to get low percentages. So if you got 100% on Turnitin, it means that you literally took someone else's assignment and submitted it as your own. You have completely stolen it. If you get like 60, it probably means you've plagiarized the vast majority of it. It means you've copy and pasted things all over the place. Now, different departments have different thresholds. Some will say you can't be over 20%. Some will say you can't be over 30%. Usually the amount decreases, like how high you're allowed to go. It usually decreases if the higher up you go. So, in first year, you're probably going to get some leeway. In second year, less leeway. Third year, even less. And then in postgraduate stuff, like an honors degree, a master's degree, a doctoral degree, in those cases, they do not have any tolerance for plagiarism. So you will just get in trouble. You could be kicked out of the university if you plagiarize. So that's what it does. It basically searches the internet and academic journals, and it also looks through books, all sorts of things. And then it will say, he took things from all of these places. He stole 50% of this. You see, that's why you really don't want that to be happening. You do not want to be losing that much, because then you can just fail. Like they'll just give you a fail mark. They'll say, you didn't do the assignment. You copied it, so you're getting 0. They are well within their right to do that because you did steal. And the university does not need to allow stealing to be admissible. They do not need to let you pass because you've stolen information. So, you see, that's why plagiarism, bad. Turnitin will find out that you have plagiarized, and then you'll get in trouble. But let me just also say, if you were to think to yourself, oh, but this assignment or something doesn't use Turnitin, or this university doesn't use Turnitin, I can speak from experience and say that people who mark assignments and exams, what they do is that they are actually very, very used to spotting things that have been copied. And what they will just do is they will copy and paste some of what you've written into Google, and it will do the searching for them. Turnitin is just more convenient. It just means that a marker doesn't have to do the looking themselves. But even if there's no Turnitin, you can still be found out if you plagiarize. So do not plagiarize. Do the work yourself. So that's basically plagiarism and Turnitin. Hopefully, this has explained in some detail why plagiarism is bad and what Turnitin will do to you if you try to basically screw around. So, yeah, hopefully this has been helpful. If this has been helpful and what have you, if also my other videos have been beneficial to you, I've done videos about a whole bunch of different academic subjects, and I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more. If they have been beneficial to you, you can check out my books. I'm just going to talk about Flesh Zone Blues now. Flesh Zone Blues is basically like the latest novel I wrote. You can check it out. It'll be in the description and all that jazz. It's basically a cyberpunk dystopia, so think really, really sad, dark sci-fi about a world in which people no longer have regular bodies. They have bodies that they can interchange. Do you feel like being a different person today? Cool. Put your chip into a different body, and now you get to have a different body. Fun stuff. Other than that, do the like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 the YouTube things. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments, and I will assist if I know the stuff. So yeah, otherwise, I hope you have a great day, week, and month ahead, and goodbye.